Takes. I'm Lyndon Blake with Allie Davidson. Again, this is Tiger Takes. This is going to be a super fun show where we talk about all things Auburn fan culture. Allie, I know you woke up so excited to start this journey because what else do we love to talk about besides Auburn? Nothing.
I mean, I think me and you talk like 4 or 5 times a day, and all we do is talk about Auburn and what we're so excited for and our history. We've been best friends for what seemingly is like a decade, so we have a lot of Auburn experience, and I'm so excited to be here with you,
I'm excited
and
to be here with
I'm
you too.
pumped. I'm so excited. I graduated, just a little background. I graduated from Auburn in 2016, so I'm not old, but not young. So I'm not a Gen Z, but I'm not, didn't see any 1957 games. But yeah, and I live in Atlanta. And Lyndon, what about you? You graduated, you're a little older,
I'm just a little older. I graduated in 2015. Allie and I met in our journalism classes at Auburn. Literally, if we were in high school, we'd have been sitting out in the hallway every single day. They couldn't make us shut up. So, but that's why we get to talk for a living. I work in local
Exactly.
television in Alabama and do a lot of fun stuff. So we're still in the sports world, and we got our sports love from Auburn. So again,
Yeah,
cannot wait. I can't even tell you the last time I went to a game with you because it's been
I
so long.
know.
Last year just doesn't count. But the good news
We're just
is
wiping it away. We're back
wiping it away.
100%.
We're back 100% capacity. Allie, what are you looking forward to the most? Because I have like a list.
Oh, I mean, I can go down the list. And also, the show is live. So if you guys want to comment, if you guys have any questions, want to talk about what your favorite things about Auburn are, please let us know. We want this to be fun. We're not talking X's and O's. We're not talking about, why Bo Nix missed a pass this week or, why we put up 50 against Arkansas. We're just here to talk about what being an Auburn fan is and experience the culture in the city and what makes Auburn Auburn. But I think the most I'm so excited for is I miss tailgating. I didn't really get to do it as a student because I was working and covering football recruiting. And so I didn't really get a chance to. But man, oh man, do I enjoy an ice cold beer, sitting outside Jordan-Hare, playing some pong with my friends, and getting ready to go see, in my opinion, the best live football experience in college football. So what about
I
you,
love
Wen?
it. I know. I did not get to tailgate as a student either because I was too busy tigeretting. Shout out. Favorite thing I ever did at Auburn was tour the recruits around, and now I work the game. So I guess my last like tailgate may have been 2016 Auburn Clemson. The
Oh
three
man.
quarterback rotation. What a game! What a
Yeah,
game!
what a game. What a
So
game.
I'm just looking forward to being back in the stadium and seeing everyone, especially the student section, do like the swag surf and like you feel the stadium shake. I think people don't understand because it's not one of the biggest stadiums, but it's one of the loudest for sure. Ask
Yeah.
anybody, and I miss feeling Jordan-Hare shaking to its core. So I'm looking
Well, I think
forward
that's
to it.
what I think that what makes game day in Auburn so great is, Auburn's so big. I feel like they need to like cap the amount of people that are moving back because I feel like everyone my age is getting married and having a kid and moving back to the plains. But it's still such a small town, and it still is the college. You know what I mean? Like game days are what make that college the college. And you know, it's not the biggest stadium, like you said. We haven't won a title in a while, but the fans still come because of like the excitement it brings. And last year was just so devastating, but we're back, and it's a new era. Brian Harson's bringing a lot of unknowns and a lot of questions. I mean, coming from Boise State, it's a big jump. But I think that's what makes it so exciting. I remember when Chiswick was let go, and then we brought Gus back, and just the excitement around the season. And look what happened. I mean, we made probably the most unbelievable run in college football that no one expected, from a 3-9 season to then be playing in a BCS. So expect the unexpected, you know what I mean? And I think that is what Auburn chaos is all about.
You haven't seen the new lights, have you? Like in person.
No, I haven't. Have
I got
you?
to see it once. Yeah, at the Tennessee game last year, I got to see it, and it's fun. And it was fun when it was at 20% capacity or whatever. So getting it back to 100, I think, new coach, new experiences. What better way to just start this new era of Auburn football? But before we look to the future, it's always fun in the off season to reminisce, right?
It's my favorite thing to do, is to talk about my favorite games of the last decade, because we're not counting 2020, that kind of is a wash. So it's a new year, 2021. We're starting a new decade of Auburn football. But the last 10 years saw some pretty highs and some pretty lows, and we both got to experience so many, games in person, away, and in Jordan-Hare. So I think it's only right if we count down our top 5 best live games that we attended of the last decade.
Yeah, so these are games we attended in person. Top 5, obviously, we're besties. We went to some of these games together. So we're going to have a little bit of overlap, but it would be awesome to have those 5 games. Oh, yes, the Eagle Alley. Teresa Barnett
I know.
said she's ready to see the eagle fly. I forget the eagle could not fly because of COVID.
I know. And I mean, I feel like on every list that gets ranked as, the coolest entrance in college football, biased or not. But I mean, a live eagle flying. And it's like that moment when they let, Nova go and the eagle starts to fly and you just hear this like uproar. It's like the season started and we're ready to go. But to kick us off on this last decade, ours are the same. And I think it's the same because we were both there, but also was a pretty fun game. And I think an unexpected game was the 2019 season opener against Oregon in Dallas at the new stadium. Bo Nix's first game in orange and blue. So much hype. If you guys didn't know, he's the son of Patrick Nix. And if you hadn't heard that on a broadcast before, a lot of hype coming in, a lot of, expectations, unknown, what's going to happen. And it was my first big away game as a fan going to watch. And the atmosphere being at AT&T was insane. The difference between Oregon and, Auburn fans, you could definitely tell a little West Coast and a little deep South. They had their Nike neon green and yellow jerseys and flip-flops and all that. And we were dressed to the nines and, our little rompers and our hair done. But the game itself was insane. And you were covering it, weren't you?
I was covering that. So, when you go to national championships and stuff, you don't get to shoot the games. You're in the press box when you're with local TV. But for the kickoff games, you get to be on the field, camera on your shoulder, shooting the game.
Wow.
So you're there for all the action, the entire roller coaster, and just being a little person on that huge, in that huge stadium on that field. That was one of the best parts of my career covering Auburn. But I think we both can agree. Also, we won, and it was a crazy way to win. That made it special. But going to Texas
and the amount
live,
of rolled ducks. Well, the amount of rolled ducks I heard, I was like, oh, if we lose this game, I'm gonna have to just go back to the hotel because there's no way I can listen to rolled ducks an entire night. But thankfully, Seth Williams came clutch. Went crazy. The fans went crazy because it was a slow game. It wasn't fast paced. There wasn't that many points. And it was kind of like, oh no, what's going to happen? You kind of saw a spark of what Bo Nix talent was. And then Texas Live makes the Battery in Atlanta look like itty bitty. It was like a playhouse. The Battery could fit into one part of Texas Live. And I know they say, everything bigger in Texas, but holy smokes. I think we have some photos from that night too.
We do have some photos.
2 a.m. Some photos.
2 a.m. photos, and then when they're playing the highlights, I cannot describe to you how big this big screen TV is in Texas Live. Like, I want to get married at Texas Live, have my bachelorette party at Texas Live. Like,
I'll write that down. I'll make sure to keep that note of that. You want to get married there.
Bury me in Texas Live. But when they showed the highlights, and I mean, there were still Oregon fans there too, Auburn fans, just watching that back. That'll be like a night that I will truly never forget. It was so much fun. It made the game even more fun, just all what happened afterwards. And then, Oregon fans and us, we all hung out and said we won and moved on with our lives.
And now that I remember that being there's awful weather in Texas. So people's flights were getting canceled. I know people who rented cars that drove the entire way from Atlanta to Dallas because there was just so many canceled flights. And one of my, if you follow me on Twitter, one of my biggest pet peeves is when I say War Eagle to someone in the airport who's wearing Auburn gear and they're like, thanks, or, oh, what is that? Or, oh, yeah. I'm like, it's not that hard. Just War Eagle back. And I just remember that weekend getting so many that, Atlanta airport was flooded with Auburn fans going to Texas. So that just makes, the experience of away games so much better.
All right. Well, this is where we kind of get different on our list. Allie, you want to go first and tell us your number 4 Auburn game of the last decade that you were there for in person?
Yeah, so I have 2 that are a little different from the list that I don't think, a lot of people would put on theirs, but maybe, I don't know. This game it was interesting because there were so many games that season in 2013 that, were so popular, obviously, with rightfully so. But the SEC championship was I think an underrated, if you can even call that, against Missouri that year. I mean, I think still to this day, it's the highest points ever allowed in the SEC championship. It was against Missouri, who also kind of came out of nowhere. Auburn had just taken down Georgia and then turned around and taken down Alabama. And it was almost like, what's going to happen? We had already had a loss that season. No one knew what the BCS was going to happen. That was when, a win could skyrocket you 6 spots in the BCS and you could all of a sudden be in it. And that was my first big game covering it. I was on the sidelines, and it was just like a really, really good experience. And actually, I think we have a comment, a nice one, coming through about the show, if we want to pull that up. I'm just so excited. I'm like blushing. I'm just getting so excited over here talking about it. From Mary Gay Morale, so much enthusiasm, gorgeous ladies, not lazy, but we are lazy. Ladies talking sports traditions. Someone come get your woman's. Oh, well,
Mary Gray.
I'm very single, so please, if anyone wants to come, please. No, but that's so sweet. And I'm so glad, people are tuning in. I know it's a little crazy to have 2 girls talking sports, but it's 2 girls that love Auburn so much. And we're super looking forward to getting to talk to you guys every Friday with Tiger Takes. Every Friday you can toast with us. But I think the craziest game, I was on the field. It was just experience. So many cameras, ESPN. I mean, Trey Mason absolutely launched himself. What I think should have been a deeper Heisman, run that year. But I think the craziest part of that entire game was actually on the way home. So Michigan State was playing for their championship, and, it was told, if Michigan State pulled it off, Auburn might have a chance to leap all the way into the BCS title game. The last year against it, FSU was in it. Jameis Winston was, all the talk of the town. But could Auburn really launch itself? And as I swear, it was like timing. They say Auburn Jesus is a real thing. It really is, because we're pulling into Auburn, exit 51, everyone's favorite exit in Auburn. We start going, I'm with friends who rode together because I'm still a college student. So I'm, riding back with friends. And as we were pulling into Tumors, passing, going to our apartment, it gets announced like, holy smokes, Michigan State won. Auburn's going to the BCS. And I swear, I've seen Tumors Corner get crazy, with Final Four runs and everything, but this one was insane. People just left the bar, started rolling, because we knew we were going. And it was so unexpected. It almost was like the tip, like the cherry on top of, the Sunday, knowing everything we'd accomplished worked and we had everything going in our favor. So I think that was just awesome. Like pulling in, winning a game, being so unsure, and just like Auburn chaos just running hammock, with Michigan State winning and Tumors Corner like going crazy. So that would be definitely a top 5 live moment for the experience afterwards too.
Yeah, I'll never forget that game for that reason too. And also, that was probably the worst I've ever looked for an Auburn game because so I want an Auburn jersey. I just got back from like being home for like a little bit, and I'm from close to Auburn, but I left my jersey at home that I wanted to wear, and I was freaking out because we would plan like, are all the girls, are we going to wear the jerseys today? Are we going to wear cute clothes today? Like, it is a thing. And it was a jersey day. So I was like, I had to find a
jersey. Love a jersey day. Love a jersey day.
So I texted my friend who used to work for Auburn as a GA, and I was like, I need an Auburn jersey. Help me out. All he says is like, I got you. And so I'm like, okay, I got it. Go by his apartment. He hands me the jersey. It still looks normal. I put the jersey on, and it is Gerard Powers' jersey that he actually wore. So skin
insane.
Tight, puffy shoulders. I had to go over shoulder pads. It still had like the gold patches on it, and I was like, oh my god. Like, I look like, the girls these days would probably love it, like the TikTok generation. It's like how like tight and how can we look. It was awful. And
back in the day, that was not the move.
It was not the move, but I wore it. I even tweeted Gerard, who tweeted it back, and then I met him later that year, and I was like, dude, it's so embarrassing, but I'm kind of creepy. But I've worn your jersey. I wore to the SEC championship. So that's what I always take away from that, is the ugly photos. But good times.
But they're memories.
Love 2013.
So I was going to say.
Great memories. My number 4
game.
So
what's your 4?
Also 2013, because the best year ever. Oh, we have another kind comment. We're going to stop, especially the beginning, because we want you guys to feel so involved with this. We're going to read your comment because, honestly, what you have to say is more important than what we have to say. We love to hear from you guys. So Brenda McCarthy said, it's awesome to hear ladies discussing football. My daughter is right there with you guys. She knows her SEC football. Well, if you come to Auburn this fall, we're going to be there and we can all hang out at a tailgate or something and talk all the SEC football. I love that. Thank you
We
so much
love
for
it.
that
Me and Lyndon
comment.
actually we just got interviewed by, an Auburn class, and it was both me and Lyndon it was talking about being females in sports. So Brenda, anytime her daughter wants to hit us up, we're more than happy to have her on a guest on Tiger Takes and have her school us a little bit, since it sounds like she
Yes.
knows her stuff.
I love that stuff. Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, mine's 2013 too. Number 4 has to be Texas A&M. Going out there. I went because my dad told me not to go, and I think my dad's watching, but he was like, "No, you're not going to College Station." I go, "Watch me. I just have an 8 a.m. I'm out." And I drive there because I was in love with Johnny Manziel, and I had to see him in person in College Station. And we go there, obviously not expecting to win. We did the midnight yell. We did all this stuff. Shout out to Texas A&M fans, nicest fans ever. They gave us beer before the game. And then when we won, which made this the best road trip ever in college, D Ford with that sack, took Johnny Manziel down, did the money signs on the field.
So good.
Best day ever. The Aggie fans still, they found us in the parking lot after the game and gave us more beer as a congratulations message. I don't think they would do that today, but they were still new back then, and it was like a housewarming gift.
Exactly. They were still trying to, work their way into the SEC. They had to
get
give
into
it
the friend group.
Exactly. They were on the outside looking in, and now I don't think so. Now I've had some run-ins with some Texas A&M fans that may not be giving me beer, but back in the day I could totally see it. And that's probably one of the games, if I had a list of things I regret not doing, was going to that game, because it just, the atmosphere, I don't know what it was like being there, but even watching it on TV, I mean, that sack by D Ford, I swear, was just like, oh, now Johnny Manziel was still in his prime, but it wasn't. It really was. And I mean, D Ford's was insane and had so many great plays that year. But that was kind of like in 2013, like the play, like, oh, Auburn's like serious. Like, this is 3-19
yeah, like
from
it kind of was
the year before.
The pinnacle. Yeah, you could like kind of flip a switch, like, oh no, we are legit, and like we can do this. And it was such a special moment. And just the entire city of College Station is super, super clean. So I highly recommend anytime Auburn's playing there, go walk through Bottle Cap Alley. They call downtown Northgate, I think, but
that's
it's kind
cool.
of different. Yeah. So that was one of my favorites. 2013, always had my heart, especially that Texas A&M game. So Allie, what's number 3? We're already halfway through.
I know. So I think my number 3, again, more of an experience, but also a great game. Not so great of an ending, but a great game nonetheless, was 2014 Auburn at Ole Miss. It was my first time in Oxford. Lived up to the hype. I turned 21. So it was, being in Oxford at 21, they say there's nothing greater on a game weekend, and I can say that. But it was also the game that ended with Laquan Treadwell breaking his leg. Now I had a couple of drinks. I was watching the game, and I was like, didn't really know what was going on. So I was cheering pretty loud, and Ole Miss fans were like, what is wrong with you? And then I realized, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea that it was that serious. But it was the first game of the playoffs that year, and Ole Miss, I think, was number 4 or number 9. We were there 9 and they were 4, or vice versa. And we knocked them out. So it was kind of like dubbed like the first college football knockout, giving them that loss on the road. And the game was great outside of the ending. But the city itself, Ole Miss fans do it right. I went to the Chandelier Tens. I had way nicer champagne than a 21-year-old college student should have. I had better tailgate food than a 21-year-old college student should have. And people were so friendly. Ole Miss, I feel like, is very old school SEC. You know what I mean? Like, very much Southern hospitality, very, in the South, they know, to say, yes, ma'am, no, sir, thank you, and very just pleasant. And the stadium's super old, except it's like a hike. You had to really climb up there. We were in the nosebleeds, obviously. And it was a hike to get up there. But I think turning 21, knocking them off, coming off 2013, weren't sure, was just like hype? Was it overdone? So I think that game kind of was like, okay, Auburn, has a chance to be good again. And that's always a fun feeling. But the road trip was long. It's a long hike from Oxford to Auburn, Alabama. That's for sure, especially when you're a little hungover on a Sunday coming back. But it was always easier to come back for a win. But I would say that probably would be, for me personally, a top 5 game that I've seen live. A night game, there's nothing better. I'm pretty sure it was the ESPN night game that week. I think Miley Cyrus like had just been in there the week before on
It
College
was
game day. So there was a
Halloween,
lot of
Allie.
yeah, it was Halloween weekend. Freaky things happen on Halloween. Ole Miss and Auburn always play on Halloween, and it's my birthday weekend, so it's always my favorite weekend probably of the season, regardless. But
Yes.
yeah, I would say that would be my number 3 before we get into. I think everyone knows the big guns. But what about yours? What is your number 3?
So we're doing the last decade, so 2010 to 2020. And I think my favorite game coming in hot at number 3 on my list would be 2010 Auburn Clemson for multiple reasons.
Ooh.
Multiple
Bringing in a
reasons.
good one.
That was my senior year of high school. I remember it was maybe one of the first games where my parents didn't come with me to the football game. We all carpooled my friends, and we were
That's
like,
a big one.
so like we think this quarterback's like pretty good, right? And we're at Tiger Walk, and we're like, yeah, like, I think we have a quarterback. Like, what's his name again? Oh, Cam Newton. Yeah. Like I've heard. Yeah. And
from junior college
Cam,
when Blinn, yeah.
Laptops. I don't know. But we shake his hand at Tiger Walk. We go in the stadium. Game day was there. The game went to OT. Clemson fans, I learned, are psychotic. And it was just such a great atmosphere. I had lower level seats right there. Got to meet Aaron Andrews, got to meet Kirk Herbstreit. And then I remember leaving that game and thinking Clemson fans are crazy. And oh my God, we have a quarterback. And we wrote a song about Cam on the way back to good old Ellick City that night to the lyrical hit Bottoms Up by Nicki Minaj.
Oh, a classic.
Classic. Do you want to hear like one line?
Yeah, give us a little sneak preview.
Okay, so Bottoms Up goes, bottoms up. So we wrote Cameron's up, Annie's over the top. When he hopped over the top. And we had other lyrics.
And that didn't win a Grammys. That didn't, you didn't get any, like gold, platinum records.
I don't know if like SoundCloud was a thing back in 2010, but I would have probably gave it an upload on SoundCloud.
You could have promoted it now, because I can tell you right now that would go viral on TikTok. So maybe we just need to like make like a remake of it.
All I want is to go viral on TikTok. What am I doing?
I know.
Stuff in the can. We'll have to do
we've
that.
got backups, and I feel like that could start a trend. You know what I mean? Make your own lyrics to Bottoms Up, and a classic for those in the day in school in 2020 or 2012. I'm definitely not a college student in 2020. That's a great game.
That was a great game.
Thanks so much. This is so exciting. Great. I mean, can anyone top Cam Newton? I mean, when he came back to campus, that's I think one of my favorite tweets to ever tell people when everyone's like, oh, Cam Newton. I'm like, but he came back and graduated. I thought he hated Auburn. That was what everyone told me, was that he'll never come back after he left. It was a one and done. And yet he came back and graduated. He comes back often. He really just does love the campus. And
he honked at me once. It was awesome. And
that's exciting. Wow.
That's got a picture.
Was that the start of like true love?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's still married. I think he's married, but at the time it was
he thought it was meant to be.
Yeah. I get it. I think my attention, right?
I think everyone's fallen in love with Cam Newton at least like one point, whether on the field or walking around campus. I think he's an easy one to fall in love with. Our next two I think are pretty obvious, but I think we have the same order, and I think the order might be a little surprising to some people. Obviously, we're talking about the two biggest games of the 2013 season, arguably two of the most important games in college football history, or not necessarily games, but more so 15-second increments of each game that changed shock factor that changed the course of not only entire season and entire team, but college football. Honestly, some rules even were changed coming out of these games. But I think the order might be surprising. So why don't you go first and you let us know what you think our mutual number 2 is out of the two big ones for Auburn.
So coming in at number 2, and this is like trying to pick your favorite child. Can you really? But you always have one.
You always have one.
The kick six. The kick six. It speaks for itself. The best game ever. We beat Alabama. It was remarkable. But you may be asking, why is it number 2? Well,
and I'm like getting goosebumps. Is that embarrassing? Like, I feel like after this long, I just like, I got goosebumps. I get so excited. Like, I'm red. I'm like, oh, I want to be back. Like, I need it.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of talk about intertwine because like you have to be wondering like what's number one because of number two. Well, like we obviously both have number one as Prayer and Jordan-Hare, and that topped both of our six. But the kick six in its own so special because we beat Alabama. We got to go to the national championship. Just an insane night in Auburn, storming the field. Allie, I know it was one of those nights where you can relive it in slow motion. Like Chris Davis, I was in the recruiting end zone, and when he caught that ball, it was my dad and my brother because they were in the recruiting section that game. And you're just watching him, and it's like he's like in slow motion, like ice skating.
Like,
and I know his
the
footwork was not,
slowest,
yeah, like it just like you're like
the
is it
slowest like
is it
run I've
happening?
ever seen. I was like, run faster, but he's running as fast as humanly
That
possible. I'm
his
like,
feet
but he's
were-
not running. He's literally so slow. Like, what's going on? Like, my world just like kind of froze in time at this moment. I'm like,
You're
what is
just
he doing? Why is he
frozen.
running?
And I think that's
And
why this
it
is
was,
number two, because you didn't think it was real. You couldn't live in the moment almost.
yeah. And I
At
think
least for
the
me.
reason why, yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think obviously, beating Alabama is always a checklist. It's always something that you can pat your back on and have bragging rights for the next year. Doing it in that fashion, kind of, kicking's always been a little bit of a sore subject for Alabama, especially that season. I think he had like missed 3 already that game. And then to run it back, because like you'll see if you go back and watch it, like Gus put Chris Davis back there. Like he wasn't originally back there when it first started, and they made the move to put him back there, and it was like, okay, whatever. There's no way he's going to get a kickoff return. And then you go back and it's like, oh, was he out of bounds? I think we can say to this day, Chris Davis was not out of bounds. But I think why it was second was we are coming off already such an emotional roller coaster
We're worn
2 weeks
out. We
before
were
against
done.
Georgia that I was just like, there's like no way. Almost like you said, like this isn't real life. Like this isn't happening. And I was covering my job usually when I was covering Auburn for recruiting and all of that was to cover the opposition coach's press conference. Obviously, it was a little hard to get over there since me and 80,000 of my best friends were standing on the field of Jordan-Hare. But I went over and Nick Saban did his press conference, and I think it was the quickest press conference, rightfully so, that has ever happened. And I think almost he was in shock. It's almost like what happened, and there's no answer. They ran it back and had for 100 yards, which just doesn't happen. And it was loud. It was crazy. It's the kick six. I remember going to class that week, and I think still to this day they play it. I mean, they have that play. Apple plays it. Tim Cook will play it, when they're Apple seminars, he'll play the kick six. Like it's a memory that'll go down forever. But something about our number one just
this is where I get chills.
away.
I can't.
I mean, I think our number one is everyone will know the Prayer and Jordan-Hare. Something about it. Personally, it's the loudest game that I've ever attended outside of the Swamp. And that's something we're going to, I think, talk about as the loudest stadiums we've been to outside of Florida. But that game, it was almost like a volcano, hurricane, tsunami. Everything hit Auburn at once. And it was just like an echo. People who I knew that weren't inside the stadium said they heard it like out by Creekside, like down in Opelika. Like it was just so loud because you're watching this play. I was in the end zone. And Ricardo Lewis is running at me, right? And so have my little phone out. Nick throws it, probably the highest ball. Like I feel like if we were in Auburn Arena, that thing would have like hit the scoreboard. Like the highest thrown ball, perfect spiral, and it was the slowest pass. Like I was like, is this ball ever going to come down and like be catchable? Like what's going on? And you kind of lose it in the lights because it's a night game, so you kind of lose it almost like a golf ball. Like you lose it and then it kind of just like lands. And it just lands perfectly in his arms. And it was absolutely pandemonium. Like I have never heard people scream. I tried to act, as professional as I could, but I just kind of turned around and I was like, holy blank. Like there's no way that this just happened. So I think that's my number one, because it was almost like Auburn's really going to do this. Like Auburn was kind of fading towards the end of that game. Georgia was tying it. There's argues on, X, Y, and Z towards the end of that game. But that moment, I was like, Auburn could do some damage. Like Auburn could really make a run for this thing and surprise a lot of people. So that's personally why the Prayer and Jordan-Hare will always go down as the greatest, probably for the rest of my life, the greatest Auburn game that I've ever attended live and seen, in person. And then you'll see me in like the little background, my shocked face as he caught it. probably very unprofessional, but it's a memory. I have it like literally framed like on my desk at home, of it just like right there. Cause it's just, you know, one of those moments that you'll never forget.
I think it's just a shock factor that where, for me personally, during that game, also in the end zone, back in the recruiting section, and we're all standing up, the recruits are standing up, I have on my little pantsuit, my little name tag, and you just know you're done. Like, there's a slither of hope, but you're like, the game's over. And then, like, when it happened, like, I fell out of the bleachers, lost my name tag, onto the ground. Russell Anderson had to help me up. Shout out to Russell, great guy. And, like, I mean, it was just like an explosion. You cannot recreate that moment because I think I had no hope. Whereas
yes,
the
great point.
Had hope. We have been toe to toe with Alabama. You know, we talk about how Allie and I, when we watch games, we're not like the funnest people to watch them with because we're very focused and like it's exhausting. Like the Iron Bowl is exhausting because I'm watching every single
You're
move.
mentally
and I was like, I just felt like we were I just felt good about it. You know, like Nick Saban getting mad on the sideline, he's asking for 1 second. Like you just feel kind of good about it, like LOL.
Yeah.
Prayer Jordan-Hare, I was like, dadgummit, we had a chance and we were blowing it to Georgia. Like I was just so mad.
Yeah.
And then when that happened, like I literally have chills all down my leg. It's like
I know. It's
like,
so embarrassing even to this day.
Oh.
And you know what? I'm just so glad, you know, people can say, oh, Auburn fans, all they do is talk about the kick six. All they talk about is Prayer Jordan-Hare. Well, I'm sorry you weren't on the right side of history because I can guarantee you, if you were, you would also be doing the same thing. So I'll be telling my kids about it. I'll be making sure that, you know, in my wedding vows, I say, you know, you'll forever let me watch the kick six before going to bed. Like it will just forever be a moment in time. And I think some people in the comments had made some suggestions, Lyndon, if we want to take a look at some of them. The Tiger 1980, the 2019 Iron Bowl was magical. I think it was, you know, on his way out, Gus going out, doing a little trickery on Saban. 2019 Iron Bowl, the 2014 rain game versus Arkansas. That's a great one. Yeah, that's a really, really good one. And I think Taylor also agrees with me that the MSU defeating Ohio State to send us into the BCS was one of the moments, especially listening on the radio, because I think a lot of people were coming back from Atlanta to Auburn.
We had like one phone that we were keeping alive in the car because we just had to know who won that game, and everyone else's phones were dead. Yes, those are some great. Speaking of rain games too, when Auburn played West Virginia, I don't even know what year it was, maybe 2009. Oh my God, we rained so much. That was an experience.
I was like, that was like a tsunami coming through. Yeah, exactly. Weather delays. That's always a good one.
Yeah.
But I think that's our top 5. I think we have a very eclectic list. I think obviously our top 2 everyone can agree with, but I think, you know, our bottom 3 can be interchanged. Of the last decade, we have to remember we're just talking the last decade. We obviously know there's tens and thousands of great ones, you know, in the past. But I think the last decade really shaped a good high-low, pretty typical Auburn season of riding the roller coaster, good, bad, ugly, great, and riding it, you know, to success. And hopefully Brian Harsin can do the same coming up.
It's exciting. A new ride, hopefully a more steady roller coaster here in the Harsin era. But what can you expect? It's just like brand new. It's going to be fun to talk about him and talk about all things Auburn. So, Allie, I know you said at the beginning of the show, this is going to be a sports show, but primarily a fan culture show. Like, we want to know your favorite places to eat in Auburn. We're going to talk about all this, and we really hope you guys learn something from us, and we want to learn stuff from y'all as well. So with that, Allie, what are you looking forward to the most about Tiger Take since it starts our new era of working together?
Of course. I think I'm just glad we're taking our phone calls that we do every day and just turning into something more fun that we can experience for everyone. Because like I said earlier in the show, you know, we talk all the time and it's the same conversations what we're having now as us just listing our favorite things about Auburn. I'm really excited to like get to campus. You know, things have changed so much since I was at school. Oh, I almost fell off my chair. Things have changed so much going from school. And I mean, it's just like crazier restaurants are coming, bars are coming, but you still have your classics like Sky Bar and El Dorado and, you know, some of the staples of Auburn. So I'm just excited to share my love for Auburn and what I'm excited about, and also hear what other people like. Why are you an Auburn fan? Why aren't you an Auburn fan? Why do you hate Auburn? Why do you love Auburn? Like, this is Tiger Takes. We want to hear your takes, and I'm just excited to share ours moving forward. What about you?
Same. I'm ready to go to campus. I'm ready to meet people. We really have high hopes for this show. We want to take it. I mean, obviously right now we're Zooming from far away from each other. We want to take this show on the road, take this show to Auburn, and really just bring something that the Auburn fan base doesn't really have right now. And we're just excited to explore all the possibilities. Maybe we'll even get like a Tiger Takes tailgate one day.
Oh, that would be a little fun. And this isn't just going to be football. I mean, obviously, I'm rocking a basketball shirt. Thanks to Bruce Pearl for bringing us back out of the abyss. And, we're going
Yes.
to talk all sports. We're going to talk gymnastics. I think we have an Olympian coming to Auburn, and I can't wait to go watch her. So this isn't just going to be football. It's just going to be why we're fans of Auburn. We're going to talk Auburn Twitter and what goes on in that world. We're going to talk about restaurants and all that fun stuff. So I'm excited to take you guys on the trip with us. And I think one of our segments that we're hoping to launch, Lyndon, why don't you introduce it for the crowd so we can wrap this thing up?
We'll wrap it up before we have to make a toast. And every single week, we're going to do a Tiger toast. And this is something we're going to toast to as we enter the weekend. We want to know what you guys are going to have this weekend to toast with, what kind of drink you're sipping on, and we'll tell you what we're toasting to as well. So, Allie, what are we toasting to?
Well, I think my drink for this week, I'm actually, out of town visiting some of my Auburn friends. So that's going to be super, super exciting. I'm staring at her Auburn diploma as I'm sitting here doing this. And I think I'll be sipping on a skinny margarita, no salt, very key. I think that's going to be my drink of the weekend. And what I'm toasting this week is Brian Harsin making internet waves with the Harsin point. In any photo, he is rocking the point solo with great athletes, with recruits, with fans. He is pointing out. And I think I'm going to take that on as my new move this week, is I'm going to rock some Harsin points and share it with the fans. So I'm toasting to Harsin for staying true, bringing some internet fun to us, and we're going to be rocking. I think we have another comment. Harsin continues the Iron Bowl winning streak of Jordan-Hare. Put it in the books. Hopefully, thank to God, I agree, because I really need a big win after the last year. I think all Auburn fans are really hoping to not see another championship go the other way. And so if we can win, if Harsin can win in his first year in the Iron Bowl, I think that cements a good stamp on some good things that could be done. And then what are you toasting with, and what are you toasting to?
The first Harsin Iron Bowl is important that it's in Auburn. So, new kid on the block, good way to go in.
Oh, I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Am I back? Oh, no. Am I here?
It's like a little robot, but you're frozen and she looks great, guys, isn't she?
Stop. Can you hear me at least?
I don't know. I think we might be losing her, but in case we do, which I think we might be, what about now? We're just getting like little still takes of Lyndon here. Oh, wait, we're back.
Are we back?
No, we're not back.
I don't know.
We were so close. We were like fingers crossed that we weren't going to have any.
Fingers crossed. Allie?
Hey, Lyndon, I think we lost Allie there, but why don't you give us your toast and we'll wrap up.
I couldn't tell if it was, sorry, I'm laughing. I couldn't tell if it was her or me. Okay, I'll give my toast. Tiger toast for me. I'm at a bachelorette party for Auburn people. Obviously, they're all my friends. So I'm going to drink a little ranch water, and I'm toasting to Cam Newton giving Mac Jones. So Cam Newton, I love him to death. He's making me laugh still. My favorite food's mac and cheese. So Mac Jones, you'll forever be mac and cheese to me. But thanks, guys, for joining our first episode. I'm sorry, Allie keeps calling me. We were so close. Thank you for joining our first episode of Tiger Takes, and we'll see you back here next Friday, and we hope you join us then as well. Bye, and War Eagle.